Wallet API is the Podverse podcast player. And this is actually a really good example of what we think, what the Lightning ecosystem in that regards is moving towards. Because the Podverse player should build the best podcasting experience. They build a podcast player. They shouldn't be a Lightning wallet. They shouldn't care about Lightning accounting things or creating invoices and paying Vault 11 invoices and whatnot. They should focus on building the best podcasting experience. And at the same time, it's for the user, because the user doesn't want on every application that the user is using, create another account and top up another account with money to be able to use that money then within the silo of this application. So what we're envisioning here is actually that, again, this bring your own wallet concept.
Hey everyone, welcome to another session of Changing the Tide. I am your host, Jon Crabtree. Today I welcome Bumi to the show. Bumann from Alby. He's one of the OGs there at Alby and is leading the charge on that open source project to build the web application layer for Lightning. And not only do they have a Chrome extension, a browser extension, but they also have now an API and are using, there are many Lightning empowered apps that are things like podcast apps or let's say WordPress plugins that are built now on top of their API. So in addition to the extension, they've got their API. Bumi and I are going to talk about the web application layer of Lightning and how we're getting there now and being able to unlock so many things that are so exciting and should continue to make you bullish on Lightning. And his optimism and his excitement for it are really contagious, and I think you're going to catch that in this session. Excited to dive in? Let's get going. Bumi, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. Exciting to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk Lightning on the web. You guys have been busy too, and so we'll get to that. I just wanted to make sure and go to Mempool here and take a look at some of the fees and estimates when you open and close Lightning channels. You have to pay the on-chain fees. So right now with no priority, 2 sats per byte, and then low to high priority, you've got between 11 and 20. So it's anywhere from 6 to 56 cents, depending on when you want to open that channel. The nice thing about Alby is you don't have to do that, but you can. And then there's also the Lightning side of things. So 4,770 Bitcoin active in the Lightning network, almost 16,000 nodes, and almost 82,000 channels. And so that is, again, the public network. That doesn't even take into account the private side of things. But yeah, let's get back to Bumi and Alby. Bumi, for those who have been living under a rock and don't know what Alby is, could you enlighten them?
Sure. Again, thanks for having me here. Exciting to talk about Alby and anything Lightning and Lightning on the web. So Alby is, the first thing that we do is we have a Alby browser extension, which brings Lightning closer to the web, to anything that runs in the browser. So we basically want to be the interface for web applications into Lightning. And the general topic that we work on here is, what does it mean? How does it look like? And what all can we do when we bring Lightning to anything that runs in the web? So, and Alby started as an open source, or Alby is an open source browser extension, but we do a few other things. Like, for example, also we run We run nodes. We run recently released an API that we probably talk about that allows applications to integrate Lightning functionalities. And so it's generally a growing ecosystem, a growing team that works bringing Lightning to the web.
That's awesome. And when it comes to Lightning on the web, what was it about that specific mission that really got you and the team excited?
So I've been working for quite a while around the topic that the web is actually missing a layer to transfer value. And interestingly enough, actually, the HTTP spec, like from, I don't know, like early 90s, 91 or something like that, has this famous HTTP status code, the 402 status code, that says payment required. And in the specification, it actually says reserved for future use. And that was the case because we didn't have a standardized way to transfer value. We have a standardized way to transfer the information with HTTP, but we didn't have an open standardized way to transfer value. And with Bitcoin now, we have the best monetary open network, and this the Lightning network now, we basically have this standardized way, or this way to transfer value on a protocol level, that I think, or that we kind of think, that the time has come, this future has come, that we can now put life basically to this status code. And if we do that, or maybe the other way around, because we didn't have this yet. The web was always quite complicated, for example, to monetize digital goods and services on the web, which led to that we all have to rely on advertisement, or we have this big centralized players on the web, because it was just not possible for small creators, for smaller websites, for smaller companies to monetize and to integrate seamless payment methods, especially when it comes to smaller amounts. And there has been always like projects trying to solve that already in the 90s back then with DigiCash and eCash, and I don't know what they were all called, that have been trying to solve that. And even also the W3C that works on the web standards was trying to define standards for integrating payments basically into the browser. But it never really got kind of anywhere. And I think now with the Lightning Network, we have this way to actually, to have a protocol to transfer value on the web. So this is what actually is kind of exciting for us, because we think if we do that, it will just allow completely new user interactions and new interactions on how we how we monetize content, but also how we interact with content and with content and digital services on the web.
Yeah, it seems that that piece missing when you think about making an internet transaction, right? And trying to get a physical good in return. On the internet, you can't get that. You have to wait for physical space for the company, let's say Amazon or whatever company it might be that is shipping that physical good or even physical service. Whereas on the internet, digital content can be unlocked immediately, and that really seems to work better for Bitcoin and Lightning because you can't take the transaction back. So you want that to be available immediately. Is that kind of a lot of what you were thinking in terms of Bitcoin and Lightning?
Exactly. I think the great use case where we see Bitcoin and Lightning to succeed is the cases that have not been possible with the old fiat rails, and where we can, just because of the new technology, can create completely new interactions. And what you're just describing is like, especially if you want to buy something digital, you want to listen to a song, you want to listen to a podcast, you want to read an article, you want to do that now. And the important thing there is for sure the user experience. It should be easy and it should be accessible. If you buy something physical, for example, I would even say you have to wait anyway to get it. Uh, and there you don't do that often. You have less transactions also that you do, and there the importance of the user experience is not that important, I would say, because there you enter a credit card and it kind of works. But if you would want to buy an article and you always have to enter a credit card, or you always have to enter your email addresses and account details and something like that, then you probably will not do it because it's just too much work, and the mental overhead is just too high. And with the Lightning Network, we now are able to do that. So the the website, the publisher basically, and the client also don't need to agree on a payment service provider, on the payment rails, right? So they don't need to agree on using PayPal or a credit card or something like that, or a bank transfer. Um, there can be service providers on both ends. I use whatever wallet I want, and the publisher uses whatever wallet they want, but we can still transact. And with a one click, we basically can unlock content.
Yeah, there's an interoperability there. No matter the device you're using, if we agree on Lightning as the protocol, no matter what, I should say, software client we're using,
Yep.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, which is, I think, very important. The interoperability is very important, because so also when you, for example, accept Lightning payments as a publisher, you don't care about what kind of wallets your users are using. You just accept the Lightning payment, and you don't need to convince them to use a certain one, which you would do, for example, with any big wallet, closed wallet system that we have in the fiat world.
yeah, because that's one of the first things I noticed is, you know, with Alby is I can, if I want to, I can load my Alby wallet with Breeze, with LND, with Eclair, with any of these the other services that are Lightning enabled.
Yeah, exactly. So what we try to do is basically be the bridge between whatever happens on the web, like in the web browser in this example, and your Lightning node, your Lightning wallet that you already have. So, and we want to unlock this user experience and allow then also web developers to integrate Lightning functionality deeply.
Awesome. Yeah. And okay, so then we kind of got into the why, and we talked even back to the HTTP spec level and the 402. Now let's get to the how. How are you guys doing what you're doing with Alby? Just kind of a quick look under the hood, as much as you can share.
Mhm. Um, so you mean technically? So we are like, if we focus on the extension, then that's a Chrome browser extension. It's a small application that users install to all the common browsers that are out there, and this basically teaches the browser how to use Lightning. And what that means is that in the browser, you now have this interface that you can connect, as you said, to different wallet backends, basically, what that is. So we kind of say you bring your own wallet also. That's the option. We can give you one. You can create an Alby account, and actually a lot of people do that because it's just the easiest way to just get started. But you can also use your own node if you already have one. And so basically how it works is that this extension now acts as the bridge that translates between the browser and the web application that runs in the browser, and the node or account that a user is using. So that allows the browser to perform, for example, create invoices, send payments, etc., etc.
Yeah.
No.
Like for instance, I run a node, but when I signed up for changing the tide, my Alby Lightning address, all I had to do was create a password, to unlock it, and I was in, and it was installed to my Chrome browser, and now it seems seemingly wherever I am, I can stream sats, I can tip, and all of these fun things that Lightning enables.
Yeah, yeah. So we for sure focus or try to focus a lot on the user experience, and also the onboarding is quite important for us. So we want to make it easy for users to get started. That's for sure. And yeah, you were just saying about streaming Sats and using it on these websites. What we think, or what typically has been the case before, was that you have seen a QR code to visit invoice, and
Yes.
you have to pull out your phone and open the wallet and scan it, and then pay it, and you go back to the computer. But we think you're in the digital world anyway. Um, so we are already in the digital world. We don't have to take a photo of something that is already present somewhere digital on the website. So we can directly, programmatically allow websites to talk to the wallet, and this is where Alby, the extension, comes in, and that's what Alby allows, and that's why it provides this or how it provides the seamless experience, because
Yeah.
the website can now directly call JavaScript functions. That's technical then, but it can directly call JavaScript functions to perform certain actions in the wallet.
So you're abstracting away even what used to be maybe thought of as an easier experience, which is the QR code. You're even abstracting that away to make it as seamless as possible for the person who's using Alby.
We are abstracting that away, exactly. We are allowing this programmatic interactions there. And by doing that, this means we, for example, you talked about streaming. Streaming is only possible if we do that programmatically, not if you always have to scan a QR code every minute, for example. So
Right.
these new ways just become possible. That's kind of these new user interactions that become possible when we allow developers to integrate Lightning. And with that, we abstracted as much as away as possible. And one thing that I want to emphasize here on is actually the interoperability, because this is a web application doesn't actually integrate with Alby itself, but it integrates with the Lightning Network. It's a standard. It's an open standard. And there is a lot of like conversations around these standards and how to improve these standards. Like, for example, WebPTC WebLN is the one that we're using there, that basically describes this protocol, how web applications do interactions with the wallet, what kind of functions they can call, what kind of parameters they can pass on. And I think this is an important thing to mention, because it shows this interoperability. It works with all the different wallets that are out there and all the different platforms.
And here I keep saying, or keep hearing on Twitter, that Bitcoin and Lightning aren't programmable. I guess at least with Alby they are.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's the fun thing. So yeah, the what I think there, for example, the web is such an amazing platform, and it brings all these amazing innovations over the years, and we learn so much what we can do there. The technology is actually pretty great. And if we combine that, we don't have to reinvent the whole internet, basically, like, for example, some other projects try to do. Um, we can use what works great and what has been working great and what we have been learning in the last decades, and just enhance it now with this value layer that we have, and enhance it now with Lightning functionality. Um, so, yeah. So I think we don't really need to reinvent everything. Um, a lot of the things actually work really good.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Web3, it still has web in the beginning. So how are we building this into the web, but using the best, network out there um, to fill in that gap? And so you mentioned WebLN, WebBTC, um, and then you guys are also using LNURL in combination with that.
Yeah.
And so when the way it works with Alby is you don't necessarily have to use Alby on your website for someone who's using Alby to get you sats. Let's say you have a YouTube channel like
Yeah.
I do, or a Bitcoin TV channel like I do. Um, how do I, as the content creator, how do I get to accept
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
other Alby users?
That's a good point. Yeah, so that's a good point that you bring up here. So because um, obviously the best integration can always be done if we have a custom website that natively integrates Lightning, that natively integrates WebLN, WebPTZ, all these standards that we have. But we have these platforms out there that you just mentioned. We have YouTube, huge community, incredible. We have Twitter, we're all out there. We have also platforms like Bitcoin TV, etc., etc. And what we try to do is we now try to say, we asked ourselves, how can we bring the Lightning experience to these existing platforms? It will take still quite some time until, let's say, YouTube integrates natively with the Lightning Network. But the question was like, how can we still enable creators to participate and to use the Lightning Network to monetize their content? And what we do here is, with the extension, is that that the extension, and this all works client side. If you visit your YouTube channel, for example, or your Bitcoin TV channel, and a visitor watches the video, Alby can extract Lightning information from the description there. So basically, you can enhance quite easily just by adding a Lightning address to the description. You can enhance your videos with this Lightning information, and that people that don't have Alby, for example, can copy and paste and enter in their Breeze wallet or whatever they're using to send you sats. But with Alby, you can basically have this. You have this one click. Alby offers you this interface then to send sats directly to the creator, just while you're watching the video, while you're listening to something, without leaving the website, without going anywhere else. And yeah, this is, I think, pretty cool. There is also quite some interest that we see there, just because, again, it uses the existing platform. We don't say that we have to rebuild YouTube, which, yes, with Bitcoin TV, these are all great platforms, but we also bring Lightning to the places where users are.
Which is awesome, because one day YouTube will, I think, my thesis is they will be forced to integrate Lightning, potentially against their
Yeah.
will, but it will have to happen. Just like I think Apple Pay will be forced at some point, even though their experience for the fiat rails is like miles ahead of anything else.
Yeah.
But in the interim, how do we get around that?
Yeah.
So you guys are using the Lightning address concept and that Lightning information stored there to route around and still get
Yeah.
that person their sats.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also the question, how do we onboard people, right? Because in the end, also to force all these companies to integrate Lightning, we also have to make sure that more and more people are onboarded onto the Lightning network. And this is what we're trying to do there, right? So we try to give Lightning, or we try to bring Lightning into the hands of the people wherever they are. And the typical creator, for example, also doesn't care that much I would say, about the payment rails somehow. So they want, in the end, to be able to receive to be able to receive sats to monetize their content. And with the Lightning Network, we think it's the best way to do. Yeah, this is what we try to give them already. So as a start.
That's awesome. Is there a limit then to how many sats I can load my Alby wallet with theoretically, or could I load as much as I want?
There is right now no limit. So we have to differentiate here again with the extension. You can use our Lightning wallet that we run right now. There might be limits. So that's still still quite young. So we might need to introduce certain limits in the future depending on how it goes. But as I said, you can always use you're always free to choose whatever account or wallet that you want to use, and there obviously you don't have any limits. So
yeah, because you could connect your own node and have 5 full Bitcoin or something on.
And you can send 5 full Bitcoin if that's possible to the creator on YouTube. Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important because the thesis of this show in itself is that Bitcoin and Lightning Network are the Bitcoin Lightning Network, I should say, is a gravitational force, and it's going to bring more and more users in because of the ease of use, the low cost, or it can be a low cost, and the instantaneous settlement.
Yeah.
And the fact, like you said, it brings something that wasn't there before, a use case that you couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Microtransactions, instant payments for digital content and experiences.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that on a global scale. So it just has not been possible before to do that on a global scale. So we have been cutting out most of the world so far. And with the Lightning Network, this is no longer the case. It doesn't matter now where you are and where your listeners or viewers are, for example.
Yeah, it's an open network worldwide. And that goes back to what we were talking about, the forced. Most companies are going to force, to obtain their experiences that they offer, they're going to force you to use their rails. And it's really a bottom-up concept rather than top-down, which is the more and more people that use it are going to start forcing firms and companies and service providers to integrate with that experience rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's inspiring of what you guys are doing. And it's really just you're joining the network and trying to make it better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's exactly the inspiring thing, is to see what all the makers and builders and creators out there are using this technology for, and what all can be done if you suddenly have such an open technology that is available to everybody.
Yeah, and to that point, your API, the Alby wallet API that you announced a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about that. And it's powering apps with Bitcoin. So what is the API going to bring?
Yeah. So we've talked about now a bit about the extension. And the extension is the case where we bring Lightning to anything that runs in the browser. With the API, we try to bring Lightning to or different user experiences to different kinds of applications. So, for example, mobile applications. So right now, one of the clients that are using the Alby Wallet API is the Podverse podcast player. And this is actually a really good example of what we think, what the Lightning ecosystem in that regards is moving towards. Because the Podverse player should build the best podcasting experience. They build a podcast player. They shouldn't be a Lightning wallet. They shouldn't care about Lightning accounting things or creating invoices and paying Bold 11 invoices and whatnot. They should focus on building the best podcasting experience. And at the same time, it's for the user, because the user doesn't want on every application that the user is using, create another account and top up another account with money to be able to use that money then within the silo of this application. So what we're envisioning here is actually that, again, this bring your own wallet concept is that users can bring their existing wallets to applications, and applications can integrate through a standardized API Lightning functionality into their applications without the need for doing the complicated Lightning stuff on their own, and especially without the need of allowing users to create another account within that application. So with that, what that allows to do is, I think, first of all, for the application, they can integrate now these monetization options, for example, like Podverse is doing. They allow sending boostergrams from the podcasting 2.0 spec. They allow this functionality now for their users. And especially for the user, they can just reuse the same wallet again. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, with the Podverse player on my show since probably about last November, I think, is when I found Mitch actually on LinkedIn from Podverse, and we had a conversation, and he was trying to integrate podcasting 2.0 at that time. And from my perspective, I said, great. Well, it's an open source mobile app and app on your desktop, and so I'll start. I can connect my RSS feed to it, and so. But I know one of the things that was flowing through his mind is he didn't want to be the Lightning wallet.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have to deal with that and be the actual service provider.
Yeah.
And it's division of labor, isn't it, Bumi? Like you're good at developing on Lightning and your team, and he's great at building a podcast player.
Exactly. So, and that's what these applications should focus on. And also, one thing to mention here is I just think that that also lowers the barrier of entry for everybody, because you don't have to solve on-ramps, for example, over and over again. It can be solved by this one company. They solve it, they make it available for users, and it's solved for all the apps that build on Lightning and build on this interface. So, and with that, it just becomes much easier for everybody.
Yeah. I see. I'm showing right now. You can't see it, but I'm doing a screenshot to add in of the diagram that you have on your blog introducing the Alby wallet API, where you have one person with 3 apps and each of them have their own wallet. But what you're moving towards with the API is one wallet and multiple apps are using that. So Podverse, I also noticed RSS.com is one that you created an integration with as well, which is huge.
Exactly. Amazing. Yeah. It's great what these are what they're doing. So they're like a great podcast hosting service, caring a lot about the podcasters. And one topic is obviously monetization. And also there now, podcasters that host on RSS.com can connect their Alby accounts, and RSS.com will automatically inject the podcasting 2.0 value tag into the RSS feed that allows then listeners to stream sats and send boostergrams from their players. So these two podcasting sites that we have, so the Podverse is kind of the listener side, and RSS.com is the podcaster side, the receiver side. So yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
this shows what's kind of possible with the API. Because you can quite universally use it in different for different aspects.
Yeah. Outside of the context of podcasting 2.0, because I have had others from the ecosystem on as well. With Alby, what are the other, let's say, big use cases that you're excited about right now? Um,
Mm.
Obviously, value for value is a huge new one, but is there anything else that I might be missing?
Mm. I mean, value for value definitely doesn't get. I mean, gets a lot of attention, but doesn't get enough attention because just I think that's a huge thing that also just becomes possible because of the open Lightning network that we have now. Um, and it just fits perfectly to how the internet works also, I think, because like, information wants to be free. It's like easy to copy information.
Yes.
It's easy to distribute, like this article. It's easy to distribute an MP3 file and so on. And that's why it's also, easy to reproduce. It's hard to create in the beginning, but it's easy to reproduce. Um, and there, I think value for value just fits perfectly in. Um, it's an alternative to these gated paywalls that we have been seeing so far. But just value for value makes it now simple that people can just say, okay, this content that somebody created here provides great value for me, and that's why I'm giving value back, and I'm sending sats back, and suddenly this becomes a viable business model, also a viable model for the creator. So I definitely want to emphasize on that. Even though I
That's
have to say I'm also interested in like different kinds of paywalls that we can do, because also there with Lightning we can provide different experiences. So I think, for example, the music industry is gonna be this could be very interest or it could be very interesting for the music industry there. That's similar to like to podcasts. I can pay for songs directly to the artist. Also, basically streaming sats per song that I'm listening to directly to the artist. That hasn't been possible so far, like what Waveflake, for example, is doing, and some others are working on that. So generally, I think um, we don't even know yet what all the developers will come up with this new technology. And what I always like to say is that any interaction basically on the web now suddenly can become a value transfer. So, for example, that like that I'm giving somewhere, that doesn't need to be a like that I'm just clicking there and say thumbs up or whatever it is. I actually can put um, real Satoshis there, and I can say, bam, awesome, here there are 100 satoshis or 1,000 satoshis or whatever it is. So even these super tiny small amounts are possible. So that literally any interaction that we're doing on the web could lead to a transfer of value. So, and
a la Stacker News, right? Instead of upvotes, you get paid in Bitcoin for your posts and such.
yes, exactly. Very good example there. Also, really nice integration. What is makers.bolt.fun, this Lightning developer community. They also do the same thing, and also there it's also we kind of use this value stream then also to signal quality in the end somehow, or to signal to it. We combine it with discovery, right? So the Stacker
Hmm.
News algorithm basically puts those articles at the top where also people are willing to put satoshis on, basically. So it's not only like just like I'm randomly clicking, but I'm actually caring because I'm sending a certain amount of sats to it.
Yeah, and those sats are gone now, so you really wanted to part with them if you if you sent them because they're not coming back.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so there's some other exciting things too. I mean, we can come back to value for value because you created the web app Saturn,
Hmm.
analyzing your podcast analytics.
Hmm.
And I admit I am late to the game of getting to that, but uh, for anyone who's a podcaster, what kind of insights do they receive?
Hmm. So that kind of matches together with what we were just saying, because now these value streams kind of mean user or visitor or listener engagement, and kind of mean information also that a podcaster can receive from the listeners.
Mm,
So it's not only like I'm paying something, but it's still like I'm adding a message, or I'm adding like the timestamp when I sent this amount of satoshis and so on. But there's a lot of information that we can that we can use there, and that is sent along with the payment, basically with the payment on the Lightning Network. And with Saturn, it was an experiment. We experiment currently a lot what we can do with all these things. And Saturn was also this experiment to see how we can analyze this data that we receive through these boostergrams. Um, and a user, for example, can see um, the top contributors, who contributed the most for an episode, what kind of episode was yeah um, contributed the most for, where people sent most satoshis for. But then also it's quite interesting because the app puts that on a timeline, so you basically see your episode and you see the amount of streams that you're getting over time, and where you get where people are sending boostergrams. So you can really analyze that data and also optimize your potentially your podcast if you want for that.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you're reckless
And
enough,
important, sorry to interrupt, but important is always obviously you see the messages that people are sending, because it's always also about the engagement of the user, right? So I'm not only sending the boost, but I'm adding a message to it, and I can really interact with the podcaster. As a listener, I can interact with the podcaster, and the podcaster then obviously can see these messages when they come in, and etc.
so if you're reckless enough, since it's a prototype, if you're in a podcaster, you should check that extension out. I'm going to. So,
Yeah,
well, it's not even.
it's basically building on the Alby API again. So it's kind of actually an independent application that uses the Alby API to request the data from the user, and to analyze the data, do some number crunching, and displaying it in a nice way that is helpful for podcasters. So,
Awesome.
yeah. And there are like quite, as a podcaster, quite interesting ways to use it, because, for example, you can just add it as a split. So with podcasting to Rhino, we have these splits, right? That you can say,
Hmm.
okay, for this episode, like these are the recipients of the satoshis. And you actually can simply add a small split to your account there, and with that, the Saturn application will receive that data, and can give you that dashboard. So it's actually also quite easy to onboard. So you don't have to change your whole setup. You can just add it to your existing podcast, and see how it goes.
That's really cool. Okay. Um, yeah. Well, part of the reason I do this is because I learn new things and I get to add everything that the developer community is building. So on that, I also noticed. So there are open standards that you guys are building on, and one of the other open systems that you integrate with now is you have a WordPress plugin as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what does that allow for?
Yeah. we recently released the WordPress plugin, and that's kind of the publisher side. That's the tricky part in the Lightning Network that we still have. We have like the user side that need to be able to send, to be onboarded on the Lightning Network, to be able to send Satoshis, but then we always have also the publisher side, the creator side, to be able to receive these Satoshis. And the WordPress plugin tries to make it easy for all the web developers, the website hosters that run on WordPress, to receive Lightning payments, and to provide a specialized plugin to receive Lightning payments, especially for content, for digital goods again. So it's not like something like WooCommerce or so, where you can like sell physical goods and use Lightning as a payment method. So we really try to have a plugin that gives you functionality to monetize the content that you publish on WordPress.
Yes. And it's like you said, there's the side of the publisher and wanting to accept, and then there's the side of the person who is consuming the content. And so in order for this virtuous cycle to continue, we've got to make it easy for people to get the Bitcoin in a place where they can use it, and then make it easy for people to accept it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what the WordPress plugin is about. The WordPress plugin allows people, for example, to just easily add a donation button or value for value button there to any article, just with basically like one line. Then people can also click on the button and send you sats, so that it really becomes this one-click experience. You can, with the WordPress plugin, really create paywalls. We're back to the paywall kind thing that you can unlock with Lightning. Also, just one-click unlocking of a paywall there, for example. But it also has some functionalities like, I call it the crowdfunding of articles. So you can configure your paywall that it becomes free after a certain amount of Satoshis has been contributed, or some time-based limitation that you can put in there. So all these kind of functionalities, that's what we put in the WordPress plugin that are hopefully helpful for all the publishers out there.
That's awesome. Do you see this then as do you see Alby as an extension that is built more for the person who at least has a basic understanding of Lightning? Or are you guys working on things that are making it easier for, like, hey, I don't have any Bitcoin, but I've heard of it. This seems like an interesting way to get it because I know Chrome extensions. I use them all the time.
Yeah.
How do you see that from your vantage point?
I like the Lightning Network is still early. We're generally still really early in that space. So we are still just at the very beginning of what will be possible there. So right now, I would say people still need to know a little bit about Lightning or Bitcoin, or at least have heard about it, I would say. So, or at least are open for that. To, already the word Lightning, you might have heard about that to be able to make sense of it and to be able to use it. But having that, I would definitely say that, and that's what we're working towards on, is that we hide that away for the user in the future. So the user in the future, so for example, cares about the podcast, cares about the article to read, and not about Lightning itself. So for that, Lightning in the future will become like the protocol in the back, and it will just become so easy that users don't have to think about that. And we all know this comparison with the internet and email and so on. And I still think we're in email times, end of the 90s or something like that. You would still need to know about SMTP and IMAP and whatnot, and configure your email client is kind of hard. So we are still in that space, but we will definitely move towards a world where Lightning will be everywhere, in our daily interactions, whatever application we're using, and we don't even know potentially we don't even know about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And to get there, one of the things that I see as a major win of Alby, actually, too, when you are on getalby.com, the web page, there's other features, and there's three of them. And it's, despite the fact that you can see transaction history, there's no tracking software with the extension, and it's completely open code that can be audited and extended by anyone. So this kind of surveillance capitalism concept is not there, and it is open for people to add on to.
Yeah.
What kind of was in your mind? Because you could probably make a lot of money with tracking history, with tracking software. Um, so what was kind of the genesis there, the underlying reason?
Yeah. I mean, so first of all, for like Lightning or Bitcoin applications, I think like they have to be open source to be able to audit it. Um,
For
and
sure.
so it's also, that's the great advantage that we have. We have a huge developer community. Everybody has great ideas and contributing greatly to that. And the enhancements are just huge, with all the ideas that are coming together, right? So that's I think any wallet software that you're using has to be kind of open source. It's your own, it's the users, and the user can use it in a way that they want. So also that's why Alby is a client side application. We don't know anything. Um, yeah, that's it. You can use an account, but it's a client side application. What I think is that with Lightning now we have new ways of monetization. That's why we don't need this surveillance part anymore. The surveillance part is also there because of the advertisement industry, I would say, because if you want to monetize content so far, you have to be good at advertisement, because to
Yes.
show you relevant content that you might click on, because otherwise I will not get paid. And for that, I need to know you really, really well, and I need to know everything about you just to be able to do that. So, but if you have new ways of monetizing, we don't need that anymore, and that also means, um, because with the advertising part is we've seen this huge centralization, right? So Facebook, Google, they know the most because now they can also provide you the best ads basically, and other smaller companies have it much harder.
Yeah.
But this is new way of monetizations. We can move away from that, and we can also have like a much more broader and decentralized way. Um, and Yeah, other companies, whatever services they're providing, have ways to monetize things that couldn't be done before, and that goes the same for us. So, yeah, and we want to enable that. So we want to enable that, and we want to enable that also for companies. So that's why I thought the user part is always must be this open system. There must not be a login. That's the great advantage that we gonna have, that we as a Lightning ecosystem are gonna have.
Yeah. And there's going to be greater and greater competition between this kind of advertisement model and this new way of monetizing as Lightning grows. I mean, 4,700 Bitcoin, it's
Yeah,
what is that? I'm just trying to think in dollar terms. I mean, it's a decent amount, but it's not massive compared to the world economy. But as that grows,
yeah,
um, especially in the public facing network where people can kind of see um, how much is being deployed on that network, it's going to start really catching some eyes
yeah,
and attention.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's still very small. That's true, generally, but it's still very young, right? So but it's crazy what happened in the last 2 years alone, or in the last year alone. So
Yeah,
we kind of
because
forget
it's
that
tripled.
how fast this movement is, or how fast the development is there.
Yeah. Well, I think of you guys. I think of easy, quick ways to onboard to Lightning. Breeze, Moon, all of those, Phoenix, and there's just a massive amount, and they're starting to grow more Lightning service providers,
Yeah.
and so that ecosystem is decentralized in a way because they're all of these different companies and they all have their different um, use cases and what you can use them best for. At the very heart of it is the same network that's open to everyone, and that's why I think you see this proliferation of these companies. So
Yeah.
that's what happens in
Exactly.
an open network.
Yeah. And the great thing is also here, like we are now getting to this application layer, I would say. We get to these WordPress plugins. We get to these web apps that integrate Lightning in whatever ways, because we have this infrastructure now in place. Like the infrastructure now works really well. Like this, all the nodes and all the tools and all the developer tools that we have out there. This development is just like speeding up.
Is that what you're most excited about then, to kind of bring it back around, is just the proliferation of Lightning on the web? Or what are some of the things over the next, let's say, 2 years that you and the team are excited about at Alby when it comes to Lightning?
Mhm. I mean, so yeah, definitely is, as I said before, it's if we give this technology into the hand of all the developers out there and make it really easy to integrate, then unimaginable things are gonna happen, just as they happened with what people have been building on the internet or with the internet itself. So that's the great thing about the network, with an open network. So the innovation happens on all these edges and all these weird edges, and if we make that available for um, like the, I'd say, the average developer, like this, that's the web technologies are just the most innovative platform out there. So, and if you make it available for these developers that build there, um, yeah, great things will happen. So,
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm very excited, and excited to see you guys have quickened the pace, I think, of development significantly, even between the beginning of this year and the middle to now. Just
yeah.
seems like every couple days the Alby blog is filled with something new. So you guys are doing the work.
Lot of things to do, but indeed, it feels like generally in the space that there are a lot of puzzle pieces that are coming together, and we have all these puzzle pieces now there, and now we can put them together in different ways and build new things, and actually quite quickly build new things. So, and with that, we can experiment a lot, and we can also experiment and see what works for users and what doesn't. Uh, so, yeah.
Yeah. One of the criticisms from people, I think, that are not in Lightning is that there's a danger that or that, not that aren't in Lightning, but maybe that I believe don't understand Lightning very well. There's this fear mongering in some cases that Lightning is already centralized or will become centralized soon. Do you have any thoughts around that? Um,
Not really. I don't follow that much. I mean, what I care about is the openness and interoperability. So, and yes, for sure, we will have certain was bigger Lightning routing nodes, and we will have bigger LSPs, but we still build all on the interoperable open network, that people have a choice. And this is, I think, what matters most, and what matters for me. So I think the further out on the layer, the the yeah the less important it is. So I think we have this great fundamental, um, like this good, what is it in English? Like this great, like good infrastructure, this fundamental
yeah,
infrastructure with the Bitcoin network and the Lightning network and so on, that we can build on top of that. And yeah, the choice here, it's important that user has then choice. um, Anything else, we will see how that evolves then.
yeah, that's a great retort. there's the choice to join Lightning and build on it, and I think that makes all the difference in the world, even if people can't see it yet. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there will be other companies will be built, right? So there will be big companies, there will be huge companies, there will be the next Google will be built on Lightning, and that's okay, and that's a good thing because that company will bring great value then to the world. But and it's built on the still on the same on the same open network. So yeah.
maybe one last question. You're building on top of the layer two. Would Alby, especially with it being Lightning on the web, is that getting into layer three, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, 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 I think with layer three, it can becomes always a little bit blurry, and there are like different definitions of what different people mean. But if we say layer three will be more of the application layer, then yes, our goal for sure is enabling the application layer on top of the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Um, so so maybe you could say we're sitting there at the bit of in between at the border of what we're doing there, because yeah, the real like layer three and layer four, whatever is that's then gonna be the end user application potentially.
Yeah. Well, then maybe Web three is Lightning as a layer three on the web. Maybe that's what it meant all along.
Yeah, that's what I meant all the way. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Bumi, how can people find you, Alby? How can they get set up?
Mhm. Yeah, so the best way is getalby.com, where you find pretty much everything. You find the extension. We're also working on relaunching the website, hopefully soon, 2 weeks, with more information and more guide and making it more and more accessible and easy for your people to use. Developers, designers, and so on, find us on GitHub. There's the Get Alby organization. We're on Twitter on Get Alby. Same there, super active there. And if people have feedback and questions, we have a feedback board, feedback.getalby.com. But yeah, if you just Google it, people will find it. And yeah, I'm Bumi on the interwebs, on Twitter and so on GitHub. So this is where you find me. And yeah, if there are questions or feedback, like this is super important for us. Yeah, anybody should reach out. Please, we love to hear from everybody because that's
Awesome.
kind of the thing, right? So this is the nice thing about open source is like building it together, and we're building it for the users, and that's why it's important also to hear from the users what they want. So pretty much all we do is kind of user requests, I would say.
Very cool. And that's for English speakers. That's Bumi, Bumi, if you're looking for him.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending time today, Bumi, and excited to see Alby continue to grow and onboard new people to Lightning.
Thanks for having me. It was fun chatting, and yeah, thanks a lot what you're doing, and yeah, bringing out the word and spreading the word of Lightning and all these whatever happens in there.
It's the next billion. That's what we're going for here. Thanks, Bumi.
Exactly. Thanks.
Man, if you're not bullish about what Alby's doing and you're not going right now to download that extension, download Podverse, connect your Alby account or your node, or yeah, anything else that they have on their site that allows you to connect in, then you're late and you're not paying attention. So go do it now. But I really like the concept of the web application layer for Lightning and how we're getting there now, because there's so many things that the web allows that are exciting. And yeah, to get there now through Lightning is going to change the tide significantly. I mean, that whole aspect where we talked about the fact that advertisements are a result of the fiat system. They are the natural outcome of it. And Lightning changes this. That's later in the session, very near the end. And there should be in fact, I'll make sure to clip that and put that in. But that's incredible. Just absolutely incredible that Lightning is going to change the surveillance capitalism, ad-based. You have to have this information on someone. Now you don't with Lightning. And so that's exciting. And to go forward, this was recorded a few weeks ago, so I am late. I will have to say this. This was recorded during the Hodlonaut case there in Norway versus CSW. And boy, what a farce that trial ended up being on the CSW side. And awesome people like Bit Norbert and Arthur Van Pelt and a few others were keeping track. I was watching the play-by-play day in, day out on Twitter, and even Reddit opened really rabbit hole on the forged evidence, and my goodness, it just reinforces how important it is to go get Bitcoin vouchers, real Lightning and on-chain Bitcoin vouchers. Download ethical Bitcoin wallets, Samurai, Breeze, Pine, Phoenix, Blue, Moon, Alby. Download Alby. You can connect your own node. Zeus, Blixt, and some of these Bill Casserin's, I forget what it's called, but get sats on those. Prevent the proliferation of identity. We talked about that with Bumi. Prevent the proliferation of your personally identifiable information being everywhere on the internet. And so exchanging cash for those Bitcoin vouchers is massive. Getting Bitcoin peer-to-peer is massive. And let's start this circular economy going now that we're seeing in value for value and Lightning in the podcasting space, for instance. So any other items? No, I'm bullish. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, especially on podcasting 2.0 platforms like Breeze, like Podverse, now powered, value for value powered by Alby, like Fountain, like Castamatic. Get on those platforms. Get off of Apple and Google Play. Let's force those big tech companies to integrate Lightning. We're now at over 5,000 Bitcoin at play in the Lightning Network, just on the public Lightning Network alone. That's incredible. We've got apps like Breeze, Phoenix, Moon, where channels are being opened and tons of Bitcoin are on there. Maybe not all the way to 5,000, but the amount of channels that are open is pretty much mirroring the public network. And we got to get this to billions like yesterday. CBDCs, inflation going crazy. My wife and I are trying to build a house. The rate is going up like crazy. We're almost there, being able to secure the loan, but it's gone up pretty much 2 percentage points since we started. And we're going to be in a sunshine, a land of sunshine, coming from where we were before, which was a land of gloom. And excited to get sun on the daily. So in any case, like I said, subscribe, send sats with messages. I'm going to be adding Saturn, and you're going to be really excited about the next one. It's going to be with Brian Nani at the Terminus Bitcoin electronic money workspace. It's going to be incredible. They're doing some awesome stuff, and most of them are not only involved with, but leading the charge on TabConf, which is happening next week. So until next time, keep stacking and keep buying vouchers and using ethical Bitcoin. Peace.